Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good evening, depending on where you're connected from. Please, if you can hear me loud and clear, please confirm. Confirm you can hear me loud and clear. How are you guys doing? How has been traded this week? I hope it's been profitable. I welcome you to today's live stream. Confirm you can hear me loud and clear. So start dropping the pairs you want me to analyze. Start dropping the pairs you want me to analyze. If you have any question, please drop it in the comment section. Mr. Tonda, good afternoon. Okay, GU. Okay, GU. All right, all right. So let's start by looking at dollar index. Okay. Let's look at dollar index. Okay, let's look at the calendar. I think there is a major news. A major news will be released from the United States by 1:30. Yeah, by 1:30 p.m. Let's see. GDP will be released from the United States by 1:30 p.m. So I would wait for this news to be released before executing a trade on USD pairs. Okay, I want to wait for this news to be released before executing a trade on USD pairs. Okay, so the previous is negative 0.2%. The forecast is a negative 0.2%. So they're expecting the data to remain the same. They expect the value to remain the same. And for unemployment claims, 245K, forecast is 244K, just a difference of 1K. Okay, so they just expect the data to remain the same. Okay, so wait for the actual data to be released. If it is higher than the forecast, then we should be considering buying the dollar. If it is less than the forecast, we should expect bearish dollar. Bullish dollar if actual is higher than the forecast, bearish dollar if actual is less than the forecast. So what's my bias technically on dollar index? What's my bias on dollar index? Let me start with the weekly time frame. Let me start with the weekly time frame. Please bear with me. Bear with me. It's raining cat and dog. Yeah, it's raining cat and dog. Yeah, so the network is not as strong. It's not as strong. Okay, so dollar has been bearish this week. Dollar has been bearish this week. We can see that dollar broke out from last week's support. The support it created last week. Yeah, it's trading below that support. That tells me that dollar is bearish. Dollar is bearish at the moment. The weekly time frame. Let's see how yesterday candle closed. Yesterday also was bearish for the dollar. It closed bearish. It closed bearish. So dollar is bearish at the moment, but with what we have on a daily and 4-hour time frame, I think dollar wants to retrace. Okay, I think dollar wants to retrace. It has swept liquidity residing at this previous low. So I would love to see dollar retrace. I would love to see dollar retrace. Let's go down to 4-hour time frame. Let's see if we can identify a bullish reversal pattern on 4-hour time frame. NZD card, okay, few minutes. Few minutes, please. Like I said, the network is poor due to due to the weather. So let's be patient. So let me switch to, okay. I don't have, okay. So let's be patient for the chart. So you can see what we have on 4-hour time frame. You can see the previous 4-hour candle is an hammer, a bearish hammer. So if the current 4-hour candle closes bullish, United US dollar index might pull back to this fair value gap. This fair value gap on, this is 4-hour time frame, okay? Okay, so it might pull back to this fair value gap before continuing with its bearish move. Okay, that is my expectation for the dollar. Okay, but like I said, I would wait for the fundamentals for the news to be released before I would decide on what to do on the dollar index. But technically, I want to see price pull back to this zone before selling the dollar. So I'm looking for opportunities to buy the dollar to that zone. As you can see on 4-hour, we had a bullish reversal pattern. On 1 hour, you can see what we had here. We had an inverted hammer after the formation of this bearish candle that looks like an hammer. This is a bullish reversal pattern. Now you can see we had this fair value gap here, and I think price has filled that fair value gap. Okay, it has not filled it. This fair value gap has not been filled. Okay, this fair value gap has not been filled. So before I would buy dollar, I want to see price pull back to the fair value gap that has been created on 15 minutes time frame. Okay, so we had this fair value gap on 15 minutes time frame. I would love to see dollar come fill this gap. There was an attempt at this point to fill the gap, but that wasn't accomplished. It was not accomplished at this point. So price just tested that fair value gap, and I believe that could be a trap for retail traders to buy. Right? We had an engulfing pattern here. Retail traders would have bought. There was a break from a resistance here also. Retail traders would have bought, and where would they have their stop losses? Their stop losses will be residing at this relative equal low. So I'd love to see dollar come fill this fair value gap before buying it. Okay, so that's my take for the dollar. That's my take for the dollar. I want to look for buy opportunity on the dollar today. Okay, I caught this sell yesterday. So I want to look for buys, but I need to wait for price to retrace back to this fair value gap. Okay, or at least it should come back to retest this support or this resistance don't support. Okay, so that's my take for dollar. I hope that is clear. So let's look at yen. Please bear with me. The network is slow. Bear with me. The network. Okay, so this is yen. This is yen. Okay. Let's start with the daily. So daily has been bullish. I caught this move yesterday. Okay. After the close of yesterday, I saw opportunity to buy the yen. Okay, so I've been bearish on GBP JPY. I still have a trade on GBP JPY sell. Okay, because of the pattern that we had yesterday. So this was yesterday candle. It was strongly bearish, and after the close of yesterday candle, let's see the pattern we had on 4-hour time frame. Should find a bullish reversal pattern on 4-hour, 1-hour time frame. So you can see the pattern we had on 4-hour. You can see this is a bullish reversal pattern. can see this. If you want to argue that, go to 1 hour, you will see it clearly. That's a bullish reversal pattern in 1 hour time frame. Let's confirm that. So that's the reason I bought yen yesterday. Okay, so so this was the pattern we had on 1 hour time frame. You can see we had a spinning bottom. The next candle closed bullish. Sorry, inverted hammer. Inverted hammer. That is the buy setup, and I think we had a fair value gap at this point. Can you see this fair value gap? We had a fair value gap at this point, though that gap was not filled entirely. Price came, tested that fair value gap before going up. So there's a high probability they will still come fill this fair value gap. Okay, there's a high probability they will still come fill this fair value gap. Okay, so let me go back to daily. So yen has been bullish, and my bias still remains bullish for the yen. My bias still remains bullish for the yen. Okay, so price just tested. So I would love to see yen pull back to fill this fair value gap. Okay, I would love to see yen pull back to fill this fair value gap. You can see after this fair value gap got created, there was a retest to that fair value gap. It created an high, and I believe that high is a trap, is an area of liquidity that they would want to go and sweep. So I would like to see price pull back to this fair value gap before going bearish on yen. Okay, that's my take for yen. That's my take for yen. Okay, so far this morning or today, they've cleared liquidity residing at this relative import highs. Okay, I could also just go in from this point. If this 4-hour candle respects this previous high that has been swept, I could risk selling from that point. Okay, but if I'm selling from this point, I want to consider the risk involved. Okay, so selling from this point, the risk is high, so I'll patiently wait. I'll rather wait for price to pull back to fill this fair value gap. Okay, so I'm not going to take a sell until price gets into this zone. Let's see what we have on 1 hour. Okay, so you can see what we have on 1 hour. So if I want to sell, okay, let's go to 15 minutes. I'm sure it has created a fair value gap. Yes, it has created a fair value gap on 15 minutes time frame. So if I want to sell yen, okay, so you can see what played out here. They created a fair value gap here. Immediately that gap got created, price pulled back, created an high. Most retail traders would have entered sell, okay, and their stop losses will be residing at this previous high. So like I said, either price pulls back to this zone or price fills this fair value gap. Price fills this fair value gap and a bearish reversal pattern forms. Okay, I would sell the yen from this zone. I hope you're getting me. A 4-hour candle, that is by 2 p.m. If 4-hour candle tests this zone and there's a strong rejection from that zone, and 4-hour or 1-hour candle closes below this zone, I would go bearish on the yen. But if 4-hour candle or 1-hour candle closes above this zone, there is a high probability they will come sweep the liquidity residing at this previous high. And a lot of retail traders have executed sell at this point. This was an Asian session. I think this is the high of the Asian session. So there's a high probability they might also want to come and sweep the liquidity. And if they sweep the liquidity residing at this previous high, then they will come for this fair value gap. Okay, so it's the candlestick pattern that forms after this fair value gap gets filled that will determine if I would go bullish or bearish on yen. I hope that is clear. Good afternoon, Clement. I hope that is clear for the yen. That's my take on the yen. I'd like to sell yen if this fair value gap gets filled. I would like to sell yen at this point, okay? But it also depends on the candlestick pattern that forms after this fair value gap gets filled. Okay, so let's look at currency pairs. Let's start with GBP USD. Okay, so like I said, the dollar seems to be retracing. Okay, dollar seems to be retracing, so I'll be looking for sells on GBP USD. I want to sell GBP USD. Okay, liquidity residing at this previous high was cleared. I think it was yesterday or early hours of today. That liquidity has been swept. Okay, this is daily time frame. So let's see the pattern that formed on 4-hour time frame. So this is not a valid bearish reversal pattern, right? It's not a valid bearish reversal pattern on 4-hour. Let's see 1 hour. It should be a bearish reversal pattern on 1 hour. As you can see, we had hanging man and we had what looks like a shooting star here, and the fair value gap was created here on the 1 hour time frame. So this is where I will be considering selling GBP USD. Okay, I want to see price fill that fair value gap before going bearish. Okay, so if price gets into this zone and the next 4-hour candle respects this zone, I would sell. Okay, if a 4-hour candle respects this zone, a bearish reversal pattern forms after this fair value gap gets filled, I'm going to sell GBP USD. And if I'm selling GBP USD, this will be my first TP. This low here, my first TP. You can see that this low is in confluence with this fair value gap. You can see, so that will be my first target. You can see this fair value gap. This low is in confluence with this fair value gap. So that will be my first. That will be my first TP. You can see this fair value gap. So this will be my first TP. So if I sell from this point, my stop loss will be at this level. My stop loss will be at this level, this high. Okay, my stop loss will be at this high. So if I'm selling from 3734, that's about 30 pips, 30 pip risk. And if my TP is here, what is that? What's the reward? 3675 from 3728. That's about close to 60 pips. Yeah, 60 pips. So this will be my first target, and this will be my second target for GBP USD. So I'm looking for sales on GBP USD today. Okay, I'm looking for sales for GBP USD today. That's my take for GBP USD. Let's just say 15 minutes. Okay, so that's my take on GBP USD. Okay, so this is the sell zone. This is the sell zone. As well, I'll be considering selling GBP USD. I hope that is clear. That's my take on GB. Give the video a thumbs up if you haven't done that. Give it a thumbs up. Give the video a thumbs up if you haven't done that. Okay, so that's my take on GBP USD. So let's look at Euro USD. Euro USD. Same bias with GBP USD. Same bias with GBP USD. Okay, so you can see. So this 15 minutes. So I just want to see price pull back to this. Okay. Let me go to 1 hour. So 15 minutes. 5 minutes. Okay, so you can see this fair value gap on 5 minutes. Okay, so this is where I will be considering selling this fair value gap. Price does not pull back to this zone. I'm not taking a trade on. I'm not selling Euro USD. Okay, I'm not selling it. Price needs to pull back to this zone, and 4-hour candle needs to respect this zone for me to sell. If I'm selling from this zone, this low will be the next draw on liquidity, and that is where I will set my first take profit. Then my second take profit could be at this low. Okay, so at this point, I could close maybe 70% of my profits. If I sell from this point, let's say 1.1722, and I'm closing profit at 1.1690, that's about 30 pips, yeah, 32 pips. So I'll take some profit out of the market, then hope that price will get to this level. So that's my take on on. Also, we should also take note of this fair value gap here. Okay, we had this fair value gap here. It was an attempt. They actually filled the gap, this gap here, and what pattern formed here? This is an engulfing pattern, and this happened at the early hours of the day. This was around maybe 4:30 or 5:30 a.m. Nigerian time. We had an engulfing pattern here, and most retail traders would have expected sell after the formation of this engulfing pattern, and their stop losses will be residing at this previous high. So there's a high probability they could also come sweep the liquidity residing at this previous high, which means that if I'm taking this trade from this zone, my stop loss must be above this zone. So my stop loss should be around this. Okay, it could be the high of this candle. Okay, this is 1745, sell from 1725. That's about 20 pips. 20 pips. Your first target should be 30, 40 pips. I hope that is clear. So that's my take on Euro USD. I want to see price pull back to this zone. Okay, this is where I want to sell. Okay. Okay, so that's my take on okay, that's my take on GBP Euro USD. Okay, let's move to the next pair. Mr. Raphael says we should look at New Zealand card. New Zealand card. If there's any other pair you want me to analyze, please let me know. Okay, let's look at gold before we look at New Zealand card. SAU. Let's look at gold. 1:30, the news has been released. Okay, we'll check the calendar now to know. Okay, so gold. I also want to sell gold. Okay, I also want to sell gold. So this is 5 minutes. Let's go up to 1 hour time frame. I want to sell gold. Okay, but I'd love to see gold. This is 1 hour time frame. So we had this fair value gap on 1 hour time frame. Price tested that zone. You can see this fair value gap. Okay. Price tested this zone at this point. This could be a trap for retail traders. Most retail traders who have expected sell, their stop losses is residing at this previous high. Okay, so if you go down to 15 minutes, so you see what we had on 15 minutes. So I'd love to see this fair value gap get filled before buying or before selling gold. Okay, this fair value gap, you can see there has been attempts to fill that gap. You can see there has been attempts to fill that gap, but they couldn't. It was not achieved. You can see. So all these highs, I see it as a trap for retail traders. All these highs is a trap for retail traders to start selling. Okay, the impatient traders would have executed. So I'd love to see price pull back to this area before selling. If I'm selling from this zone, my stop loss will be few pips, at least 50 pips. This is gold. Okay, my stop loss will be at least 50 pips above this high. I use at least 100 pips on gold. Gold is very volatile, very volatile. So I'll use like 100 pips. So this will be my entry. For my entry, I had 100 pips to it. That will be my stop loss. If I'm selling, I expect gold to come fill this gap. That's my expectation on gold. So if I'm risking 100 pips, I'm going for at least 200 pips as my take profit. Okay. So that's my take on gold. This is 18642. From this point to this point is about 400 pips, if I'm not mistaken. It's about 400 pips. So patiently waiting for price to pull back to this zone before I would sell gold. Yes, let's check the news. Let's check the news. Let me see. The news is out. Let's see. Wow, this is positive. This is positive, I think, for the dollar. Yeah, this should be positive for the dollar. GDP is negative 0.5, and unemployment claims is 236. Forecast 244. Could this be positive or negative? What do you think? Is this positive or negative? I think GDP is more important than I think GDP is more important than unemployment claims. For GDP to be 0.5%. Okay, let's see the chart. Let's see what's happening on the chart. Okay, so that's my take for whether negative or positive. I want price to pull back to my point of interest, area of interest before taking a trade. Okay, so that's my take on gold. So someone said we should look at NZD card. NZD card. If you're a new trader, please focus on trading major currency pairs. If you are a new trader or you are not profitable, focus on major currency pairs. Focus on major currency pairs. Okay, focus on major currency pairs. And I believe you know what the major currency pairs are. Okay, focus on major currency pairs. Trading all this cross or exotic pair is a waste of time. Is a waste of time. Focus on major currency pairs. It's just an advice. It's just an advice. So weekly has been bullish. New Zealand, you can see that it's been ranging for some time. Why waste your time on pairs that range a lot? Focus on pairs that trend most of the time, not the ones that will just enter into a range for days. Okay, so this is daily time frame. Okay, as it swept liquidity, let's see. Okay, the value gap was here. So if I'm to take any trade on using that card, it will be a sell based on what I'm seeing on the daily time frame. Liquidity return at this previous high has been cleared. So if I'm going to take any trade on NZD card, it will be a sell. So you can see what is forming on 4 hour. If the 4 hour candle closes bearish, that is a sell for New Zealand card. If the current 4 hour candle closes bearish, that will be a sell on New Zealand card. Okay, let's see what we have on 1 hour. We have a bearish reversal pattern on 1 hour. So you can see on 1 hour, price was mitigated at this point. Let's see. This is a failure swing. Can you see that? Failure swing, shifting market structure, shifting market structure. Okay, shifting market structure. Then you go down to 15 minutes. After shifting market structure, you want to wait for price to pull back to a premium area. Okay, a premium area. So we have this fair value gap here. This fair value gap is at a premium area, and I think this one also is at a premium area. Okay, so I think best is to wait for price to pull back to this fair value gap. Okay, best is to wait for price to pull back to this fair value gap before you sell. I see this as a trap for retail traders, this high here. Okay, there was an attempt to fill this fair value gap here, but that wasn't accomplished. So there's a high probability they might want to come sweep the liquidity residing at this previous high before going bearish. Okay, so it's best. You can see it has already been selling. It's been selling for some time. So if you sell from the current market price, you're taking a very high risk. Okay, so you want to patiently wait for price to pull back to this zone. You don't want to wait for price to pull back to this zone. Going with small lot size. Going with small lot size. If the normal lot size you trade with is 0.1, you can go in with 0.02 or 0.03. Then when price comes into your point of interest, you can now sell. Because like I've always said, trading is a game of probability. It is not guaranteed that price will pull back to this zone. It is not guaranteed. Price can just keep dropping from the current market price and just keep dropping. Okay, to the end of the week. So if you don't want to miss the move, you don't risk much. All you have to do is go in with small lot size. Then if price comes into your PO high, then you add more trades. You execute more trades. That's what I would advise. But this is a sell. What I see on New Zealand card is a sell. It's a sell. Any question? Is there any other pair you want me to analyze? Let me know. Let me know in the comment section. What other pair do you want me to analyze? Let me know in the comment section. Okay, I think I have a setup on Euro Aussie. Let's see Euro Australian dollar. I'm looking for sell on Euro Australian dollar. Okay, but before selling, I want to see price pull back to this. This is where I want to sell Euro Aussie. If price doesn't pull back to this zone, I'm not taking the sell trade. Okay, price should come to this zone and 4 hours should respect this zone. So that's my expectation on Euro Aussie. I want to sell Euro Aussie, but I'd love to see price pull back. Okay, and also we still have a fair value gap here on Euro Aussie. Still have a fair value gap here. Okay, so you can see there was an attempt to fill this fair value gap at this point. So this could also be a trap for retail traders. Okay. So I'd love to see price pull back, okay, to this zone. So if 4-hour candle respects this zone, I could take my sell and set my stop loss several pips above the high of this fair value gap. Okay. So it depends on how the candlestick closes after price fills this fair value gap. That's all determine if I will sell from this zone. And if I'm selling from that zone, my first TP would be this low. My first TP and my second TP will be the relative equal low. So at first TP, I would close 70% of whatever profit I've made on that trade. At first TP, I'll close 70%, and the remaining 30%, I'll let it run to second TP. So my high is on Euro Aussie. Okay, Mr. Emmanuel is requesting that we look at Australian dollar USD. Australian dollar USD. Okay, a few minutes. Australian dollar USD. We should know the buyers. If we are looking for sales on GBP USD and Euro USD, we should also be looking for sales on Euro on Australian dollar USD. So let's start with the daily. Okay. Has it swept the liquidity reset at this previous high? Has it swept it? It hasn't. It has not swept that liquidity. Okay, it has not. I think price just tested that high. Let's see for hour. So if the 4-hour, the current 4-hour candle closes bearish, if it closes bearish, one can sell. Okay, one can sell if it closes bearish. So this is what we have on 1 hour time frame. Let's go down to 15 minutes. Okay. Shift to market structure yet on 15 minutes time frame. Okay, so we had this fair value gap here. I'd love to see price come retest this fair value gap. Okay, I'd like to see price retest this fair value gap. Okay, it's likely going to sweep the liquidity residing at this previous high, because a lot of retail traders have entered sell and their stop losses will be residing at this previous high. So I would love to see this liquidity residing at this previous high get swept before I will take a trade on Australian dollar USD. Okay, which would be a sell. But if price breaks out from this resistance, so if I'm selling from this zone, my stop loss will be few pips above this high. Anything that makes price close above this resistance, that would be a sell. Sorry, it means the buy will continue on Australian dollar USD. Okay, so that's my take on Australian dollar USD. Okay, so it's $1 USD today. Is there any major news tomorrow for the dollar? Tomorrow is Friday. Let me see. Okay, tomorrow. Okay, call PC by 1:30 also tomorrow. Okay. So let's just look at DXY again to see what is happening on DXY. Ah man. Let's see what's happening on DXY. Okay. So it's like DXY wants to sell. Okay, like I told you, my bias is buy, but I'd love to see it come to this zone. This is where I will consider buying US dollar. I want it to pull back to this zone before I will go bullish. Okay, so let's see how it plays out. So it appears there are no more questions, so that will be all for today's session. It appears there are no more questions. I appreciate you all for your participation. Okay, no more questions. No more questions. Let me know. Let me know. I will end the session by 1:50. It's about 6 minutes from now. So if you have any question, let me know. Let me know if you have any question. Any question, let me know in the comment section. Appears there are no question. All right, so that will be all for this session. I appreciate you all for your participation, and I wish you all a wonderful and a profitable trading day. Bye for now.